Hey, Subfuries! Today's topic comes from Eclipse Jaws. Hiccup has almost always had a plan to take down a dragon that is causing trouble, but what about the time he didn't? What about the Shadowwing and its friends, the Small Shadows? Let's get started. One of the most fascinating groups of dragons in Race to the Edge is the Shadowwing, these huge, thunderous dragons, and the Small Shadows, these far smaller and quicker dragons. Now I know that in the episode these dragons are referred to as Shadowwings, but because the wiki differentiates these as Shadowwings and these as Small Shadows, those are the names that I'm going to use. But what's so interesting about these dragons is the relationship that they share. The Shadowwing buys her a few drinks, takes her on a date, and takes her back to his house, where she looks at him hungrily and not quite like that. It's not quite like any other dragon relationship we've seen before, and I want to explain to you why. Because after that episode, we never see them again, and we never get an explanation. So what's this relationship like if it lacks the wine and love hearts and first kisses? Well, we see that the Small Shadows herd and lure their prey towards the Shadowwing until, once they're close enough, the Shadowwing calls the Small Shadows to it. The Small Shadows then attach themselves to the dragon's wings, and they begin to hail down this storm of fireballs that are near impossible for Hiccup and Toothless to escape. Yeah, not quite so romantic, more like a couple of serial killers. So what is the relationship between them exactly? Some fans have suggested that the Shadowwing is like an alpha to the Small Shadows, the leader of the pack. Much like the Night Terrors and the Speed Stingers have an alpha. Also, when I say alpha, I don't mean this. I mean like the head of the pack, the alpha wolf. Now, these alphas are larger and possibly look a little bit different, like most Night Terrors are black, but their alphas are white, and the alpha Speed Stinger has a giant red fin on the top of his head, but the other Speed Stingers don't. It's true, the Shadowwing is a lot larger, and it has a distinct appearance that is different to the Small Shadows. It is a green instead of the Small Shadows' blue. And we also see that the Shadowwing can call the Small Shadows to it, and they respond obediently and quickly. And the Shadowwings clearly hunt in packs, but there's a couple of issues with the Shadowwing being the alpha. Firstly, species with an alpha tend to be pretty much helpless, just like Night Terrors and Speed Stingers, if they don't have the alpha with them. But for the majority of the episode, the Small Shadows are nowhere near the Shadowwing, and they're perfectly fine. They work and function together without any need of that leadership. And while alphas are usually a little bit larger, they're not usually 50 times larger. Of course, we all fall at the feet of the alphiest alpha to ever alpha. All hail Mishka. On top of that, there's another major issue with the Shadowwings being the alpha to the Small Shadows. They probably aren't the same species. Hear me out. 1. They don't have the same fire or attack. The Shadowwing releases this sonic roar, much like a thunder drum, a tidal class dragon, while the Small Shadows lobby these magmas fireballs, much like a Gronkle, a boulder class dragon. It's pretty unlikely that dragons of the same species would be able to produce such different abilities. 2. They have really different skeletons. The Shadowwing has a far larger jaw than the Small Shadows, and their eyes are to the side of their skull, while the Small Shadows, their eyes are at the front. Once again, it's unlikely that a dragon of the same species could produce such different kinds of skeletons. 3. In the game Rise of Berk, you can actually get Small Shadows, and they grow up and you feed them and they turn into adult Small Shadows, but they don't look anything like Shadowwings. Even Titan Small Shadows are red and not green, and they don't look anything like this. So they have vastly different abilities, vastly different skeletons, and we see in Rise of Berk that Small Shadows don't grow into Shadowwings. Given that they're not the same species, it's really impossible for the Shadowwing to be an alpha. Okay, so it's not an alpha, but what about sexual dimorphism?
What's sexual dimorphism, Tim?
What a great question, Spyro. Sexual dimorphism is where one gender is a lot bigger or looks a lot different to the other gender. Think male peacocks with their lots of colours versus female peacocks, or male lions with their big luscious manes versus female lions. Now this could be possible, but I think this is pretty unlikely. I mean, sexual dimorphism usually leads to one gender being a little bit bigger than the other, like 2 or 3 times the size, but not 50 times the size. Okay, so it's not an alpha, and it's not sexual dimorphism. So what on earth is it? Let's go back to the fact that there are different species. It's a symbiotic relationship.
Ah, freaking big word. Hear me out.
Symbiotic relationships,
Technically mutualism.
are relationships where two species tend to benefit from having the other species around. I'll give you an example. Bullhorn acacia trees and stinging ants. The tree provides them with a home and some food by letting them hollow out these thorns and producing nectar that they can eat. The ants are obviously pretty happy, 5-star accommodation and breakfast in bed. But what does the tree get out of it? So the ants have anger issues and they will kill and eat almost anything that threatens the tree. At all. Even other trees. So both species give something to the other species and both species get something in return. The shadowwings and the small shadows are just like this. So we have to ask, what do both species get out of it? So the shadowwings are pretty slow and big, and they probably have a lot of difficulty hunting and getting food. While the shadowwings are clearly made for hunting, they're quick, deadly, and we see in the episode how easily they herd their prey right into the clutches of the Shadowwing. At the end of the episode, as Toothless and Hiccup are trying to fly away, the small shadows even attach themselves to Toothless's wings in an effort to pull him back into the Shadowwing's mouth. So the small shadows can lure prey, slow down faster dragons, and provide food for the Shadowwings. But what do the small shadows get out of all of this? The number of times I have said shadow in this recording, I hope I never have to say it again. Well, the small shadows get two things. Firstly, the Shadowwing helps the small shadows migrate and find new sources of food and habitats. The small shadows have smaller, weaker wings, which are fine when just flying around the island, but they probably make it pretty difficult to travel long distances. While the Shadowwing has these huge wings with the strength to carry all of the small shadows while it flies. That's insane. It's likely that at some point in the past, the small shadows learned that they could attach themselves to the Shadowwing's wings when their island was running out of food or it came under attack from predators. The second advantage that the small shadows get is the bomber formation. When they attach to the Shadowwing's wings, it's an incredibly powerful defensive move that makes it almost impossible for any enemy to get to them. So there we go. That's the symbiotic relationship shared between the Shadowwing and the small shadows. The small shadows help the Shadowwing by providing it with food, while the Shadowwing helps the small shadows migrate, find new food sources, and gives them protection. But that's all from me, Subfuries. By the way, I'm coming up on 10,000 subscribers soon. Like, wow, isn't that incredible, Spyro?
Yes, it is.
And I've had a number of you ask to do a Q&A for the 10,000 subscriber video. If you'd like that, then I'd love you to leave some questions down in the comments below for me to answer in that video. These can be about anything and everything. Same as always, if you enjoyed this video, then let me know in the comments below and tell me any other How to Train Your Dragon topics that you'd like me to cover. In the meantime, follow me on Twitter, Wattpad, Facebook, support me at Patreon, or email me at the links in the description below. Thanks for watching, Subfuries. I'll see you in the future.